All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is exciting.
Hello.
Great. We are bridging communities and we are bridging continents all throughout the Americas. And as everybody settles in, we'll just do an introduction here. Great. Wow. So many friends. Awesome.
Oh, I'm so happy to see so many lovely folks. Hey, guys.
Just to begin, for those of you who I don't know, that we don't know each other, my name is Robin Flynn, and I am the co-creator, co-visionary of our sacred healing practice of Visionary Hearts with my beloved partner, Darcy Kopass. And we are practitioners of the Mesa arts. So a different lineage of practice than our dear and beloved sister Athena. And thank you, Athena, so much for heeding this call. This really came through, a inspiration. Like my whole life is guided by these heart-centered visions, and I just
Mm.
trust the flow. I trust the golden threads. They've brought me here, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, Darcy and I are located in the Kootenays of British Columbia in this beautiful radiant zone where Athena also lives. And so, we've been connected now for a number of years and really recognizing that we're drawing from these two different wisdom streams. Like we're deeply immersed in our practices and they're radically different yet sourced from the same heart, love, beautiful devotion to not just the healing path, but to this renaissance that is happening right now, this renaissance of awakened heart culture, which I truly know to be a quiet yet invincible revolution that is waking up through countless souls all over the planet. And that the plants are here to help us because they love us, because we are their children. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, putting out this call to Athena is like, Darcy and I support many different people in their relationship with the plants through our soul power medicine apprenticeship and Pachacuti Mesa apprenticeship, which is rooted, for those of you who don't know, in the ancient North Coast Peruvian lineages of Washuma Curanderismo, where there's the Amazonian vegetalismo and the beautiful traditions of the Amazon. We have been initiated into another wisdom stream, also from the same land, but a very different ecosystem, a different master teacher plant that oversees the plant spirit ecosystem. And so we are serving this beautiful community, and we have a number of our apprentices who are in a deep apprenticeship with Rose. And I too am in a deep apprenticeship with Rose, an apprenticeship that goes back to my very first ceremonial initiations, which I'll share more about. And as I was dreaming into this, I was like, I just am so curious about like Athena's process with Rose. She's been leading these Rose attunements for years and these dietas and this depth of experience in mastery and devotion. And I have so many questions. And so that was alive for me. And then I saw Athena's newsletter, and I always read her newsletters because she's such an incredible author. And I also was just mentioning to Athena that I just finished, or I'm at the last ten pages of her book, The Memoirs of a Medicine Woman, which, if you haven't read it, this book is amazing. And you are so gifted at sharing through words your stories. I received so much, I learned so much. I didn't sleep 1 or 2 nights because I was so activated. I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of transmissions in that." So I reached out to Athena, say, "Hey, would you like to come together and share with our communities, have this conversation around the spirit of Rose, Mama Rosa?" And Athena was like, "Yeah, for sure." And she's like, "What's the time?" I'm like, "Wait a second. Mary Magdalene's feast day is happening. What if we do it on July 22nd? And long story short, here we are.
You're here.
Yeah. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so
again.
much. Yeah, so grateful to be here and so grateful to be with all these beautiful souls, all the beautiful souls here. Just deep bows as we are going to be dropping into the frequency of rose. Maybe you can already feel it working in the field, and just really grateful to be here on Mary Magdalene's Day. Rob is going to share some beautiful teachings if you don't know about what today is and some of the hidden teachings. So, thanks for showing up. You know, it's big times, and so thanks for showing up because it's just so important to gather more than ever. Feels like it. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that. Like now is the time to be gathering, praying, and singing together. Mhm. Okay, sorry, I'll pass it to you,
No,
Robin.
that
Yeah.
was great. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, it's so essential that we come together and raise each other up.
Yeah.
That's what the world is asking for. And it's like the counter medicine to everything else happening, which is like not raising each other up. So this is great. This is medicine already.
100%. 100%.
And so, yeah, we're going to just drop into a sacred space and have a few moments of grounding and prayer. And Athena's she's offered to sing a Rosy Caro to help harmonize the field. And then I'm going to share a bit of the living history, the ancient rose path history, just to give a bit of context to where we are now. And then we're going to jump into a conversation. We don't know where it's going to go, and that makes it really exciting and emergent. So there's so much we both have to share, but we'll just see where the day and night takes us. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We will address those all at the end. It's a bit hard to presence questions and also be in offering the teachings. So just know that if you don't want to forget your question, you can put it there and I'll respond at the end. And to start, I'm going to just do a little multidimensional smudge. And so you can receive this in any way that feels good to your heart. And I'm going to bring this through the non-local field of time and space to all of you present, all of you listening to the replay, and calling upon all of the sacred guardians of our lives and lineage to bless, to purify, to cleanse, to bring harmony, clear seeing, clear feeling, clear knowing, clear being, to unify our hearts in this prayer of being stewards of this awakened heart renaissance and building a new culture centered in love. And from here, wish to honor and give our deepest gratitudes to Abun Debashmaya, the ancient Aramaic word for our Holy Mother and Divine Father, Creator Creatrix of all that is. We honor you and give you so much gratitude for this life, for this breath, for this heartbeat. Thank you for calling us together to remember our true essential nature in love, in beauty, in harmony, in peace, in trust, in faith, forgiving all, remembering all, and receiving that love that exists beyond all judgment. And we honor the sacred forces of creation, our Holy Mother, Sophia, Gaia, Pachamama, Tonantzin, Demeter, all the names for this goddess of life, this goddess of wisdom, this goddess of being who provides us with everything. And we honor this holy divine mother and all of the divine feminine emanations, honoring Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and all the Marys, all the Magdalens, honoring all the emanations of the divine feminine, from the grandmothers to the daughters, to the aunties and the mamas, to each and every one of us, and that spirit of the divine feminine that lives within us. And we honor as well the Holy Father, our Heavenly Father, that great Spirit, our Father Sky, the light that pours down upon the waters of life, the breath of life. Honoring the Holy Father, the divine Christos, Yeshua, and all the emanations of the divine masculine. Honoring the beauty and the nobility of this fully healed divine masculine presence, returning through the divine feminine. And this holy union, this sacred marriage, this hieros gamos, through which all life is born. Honoring as well Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, all the spirits of the land that each one of us is calling in from, all the ancestors, and honoring the ancestors of this land that we exist here at Star River Sanctuary and in the Kootenays, the Sinites, the Ktunaxa, the Salix, the Kootenai, and all the names that may have been lost through time or that we do not know. We honor you. And all the ancestors of all the beautiful medicine lineages and all of our mother's lines and father's lines. We honor the beautiful overlighting plant devas, especially the overlighting plant deva of Mama Rosa, this ancient grandmother, over 35 million years old. We ask for your overlighting presence to unify, to harmonize, to enlighten, to bring that beautiful coherence to our entire beings so we may be clear vessels of love and presence and medicine power. And honoring all of our higher guides and each one of our soul selves, that beautiful higher self, divine self, radiant being that each one of us is. And we unite this field in love and beauty and truth to receive what we need to receive, to let go of what is time to let go of, and to bring medicine to our hearts, to our families, to our communities, and this world in service of this renaissance of awakened heart culture, this renaissance, this great turning, this great awakening that each and every one of us is a collaborator and co-creator of just by being planet side at this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ayumasi Kanapa, we are all one family.
Mm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it's just taking a deep breath in, and you can just receive this Ikaro as we are working in collaboration together with your higher self. And that this Ikaro, this song, is working with your inner teacher, your inner guidance, your inner master, welcoming in the wise one within you to presence itself in this beautiful field as we anchor and deepen and root down this force of unconditional love, the teachings of Mama Rosa. Rise, sun, Roshan, Roshan. Rosa, Rosa, Sita, Rosa, Rosa, Illumina. Sai, Rosa, Illumina. Yeah, Mita Kahana Mahabuking. Yeah. Gano Kahano Mahabuking. Yeah, Gano Kahano Pontation. Yakano kano pontabo ya ya di bande ya ya medicoria guardians que escabo ya luz de Cristo lumino luz de Cristo lumino luz de Cristo lumina y memoria antigua memoria di Juan. Corazón, luminaria, armonía, armonía, unity trong cả unity trong cả plantas, plantas sagradas, camino de verdad. Camino de amor, camino de sabiduría, armonía, armonía, rosa, rosa, luminosa, rosa, rosa, mama rosa, Mama Roshaya, Florecitas Lomina, ya gracias, Pacha, Mamaya, gracias, Wokotonkaya, ya gracias, Grande Espíritu, Luz del Universo. Gracias, grande Madre, Rosa, Rosa, y ilumina, Rosa, Rosa, luz de Cristo, librae. Gracias, We'll just take a deep breath in, and we're just going to welcome the rose into our hearts. And if there's any grief that you're carrying, any density, just inviting this frequency, this medicine into your body, amplified by this field of all of our hearts here together, all of our medicine, all of our light, as we are raising each other up here. And just inviting the rose to anchor you and inviting you to receive today from this beautiful space in your. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you. To all the things that can't be put into words, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is, and it is so. Well, and I'll pass that back to you, Robin. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much.
Mm.
Wow, I feel great. That was awesome. Like, wow. All right. What an auspicious beginning. Uh yeah, wow.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the dedication and the devotion that you have walked in your life to healing, to the path of awakening, to the path of service. I really, I feel in you and I feel in what you just offered, but also in the time that we've known each other, I feel that devotion and it's a radiant presence. And I'm so grateful. And
Mm.
I feel very honored that we're here together and with this whole circle. Um, and, to recognize too that like just to receive that Ikaro, I can only imagine the amount of years, dedication, work, seeking, striving, reclamation, getting out of the way. Sometimes when we have these little touches of medicine that are so powerful, it's easy to forget the context. And so I just really felt all of that in what you're offering to the field. And I want to give my deepest
Mhm.
gratitude.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
It's
much.
a big deal.
Gratitude to you. Well,
Yeah.
gratitude to you as well. And as we all know, this work is really just about allowing God, Great Spirit, to move through us. And as everybody here knows, I feel in this magical field. And thanks for honoring me, and I honor you. Yeah, deep respect.
Totally.
Robin and I'll just be gushing over each other. Sorry, everyone.
That's another part of the
But
rose.
it's good medicine for our
Amor, the
times. Yeah.
amor. Yeah. So yeah, with this beautiful field set, I really want to cultivate and gather some of this medicine that's already here in honor of all the women, all the grandmothers that have gone before us. Recognizing that we are here now in this non-local field of heart and
Mhm.
medicine and magic, and to be able to sing these songs without persecution is an amazing accomplishment. It's been a long journey through a dark night of soul for humanity. And on the feast day of Mary Magdalene, we call forth and we honor and we reclaim the invincible power of our hearts and the invincible resilience that lives within the human spirit. And this day is sacred in my life, is important. Um, One, because of my own journey of healing, and also just this deep, deep love I have for the sacred. And I know that we're all here because of that. And, there's a lot of history with this day. And it's important, I feel like, to just presence the history because it's all context for where we are now. And so, this feast day of Mary Magdalene is a day where, until just 2016, Mary Magdalene was still misaligned as a prostitute by the Catholic Roman Church. This misalignment of the divine feminine, of women of power, of women of embodiment has been so profound. And I know we all know that. And on July 22nd, this was actually a day that was the peak of perhaps the dark ages beginning, the true depth of the separation consciousness. Because it was actually the day when a very holy people that carried the true teachings of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, known as the Cathars in southern France, which some of you may have heard or read or been immersed in this wisdom, that actually the first recorded genocide was from the Roman Catholic Church against these people that were also Christians, but they were heretics, which I think is a title to be proud of, actually. But in this way, were so persecuted by the Catholic Church that hundreds of thousands of them were murdered in southern France. And that was really to keep the knowledge of the divine feminine, of the inherent wisdom within the honoring of Mary Magdalene out of the story. And it's so significant because within the honor of the divine feminine within Mary Magdalene was more than just Magdalene or that like a woman or feminine teachers, although in the Cathar way, women and men taught side by side as equals. That women were leaders of spiritual community, giving holy rites and initiations. And this needed to be cut out of the empire consciousness of the Catholic Church, not just because it was about women, but because of what the divine feminine holds and represents for all of us. And this is that we can directly connect to divinity. That divinity is not just transcendent, as in the divine masculine expression, that Heavenly Father, that light pouring down, which is very celebrated in a lot of the different world traditions, but that also divinity is immanent, that it's indwelling, and that we can directly connect through our own hearts, our own bodies, our own sacred senses to an indwelling divinity. And that we don't need then the intermediary of the church, right? It was not good for business to have people connecting directly to God, to divinity, to Great Spirit. And so through this, really the beginning of what was hundreds of years of persecution that went from the genocide of the Cathars into the witch burnings, that was very systematic in dismantling the indigenous, earth honoring, goddess honoring ways that were in tandem and in sacred marriage with the masculine, with the Christed ways. That within that process, this desacralization really got in swing. And so as we're here today, we are also reclaiming, this aspect of our inner nature that is already divine, that is already in relationship and deeply known, and that we can directly connect to, which is really what the true teachings of Yeshua were all about. He was a radical. He was a revolutionary. He welcomed everyone. And so we have this, this radiant energy of the Magdalene. And this moved from, being something that could be shared explicitly, that could be celebrated with women teachers, women ministers, women leaders, to being something that was profoundly persecuted, profoundly misaligned. And then it went into hiding, like almost all of the earth honoring indigenous traditions, including the Washuma Curanderismo in Peru, including different forms of plant medicine work all around the world. It had to go into hiding. The traditional ways, the earth honoring ways, had to hide in plain sight. And the ancestors from all over the world just understood this and did it. It was an intuitive thing that probably all of our ancestors did as the empire came from all over the world. And so the Magdalene began to hide in plain sight as the rose. And so how does this connect to the overlighting deva of Mama Rose? And so the rose has always been a symbol of the beloved, of not just Christ and Yeshua, but of the red rose of Mary Magdalene, the rose line, the bloodline of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua's children, which there's very rich evidence that Mary Magdalene brought those children to France. There's all sorts of beautiful books and research around that. It's very rich, hidden under the surface. And, this spirit of the rose then began to be a hallmark or a symbol for those who had the eyes to see and the ears to hear of the true teachings of Yeshua and this deep honor of the Hieros Gamos, or the sacred marriage. And where the rose is now, like in cathedrals, is a center pillar. It's a symbol that wherever, especially there's the 5-petaled rose, which we're going to speak about, and the 6-petaled rose. And these sacred geometries and symbols then became embedded in different churches and cathedrals as signposts to this deeper mystery. And it's a mystery of the rose, of the Magdalene, of the true Christed nature. And so there's, a lot more I could share around this. In fact, I could just go on for like a couple of days around all this history. It's been a deep passion of mine. Um, in 1999, when I was 17, I began to train with these beautiful women in Arizona. And I was initiated into the Magdalene ways through the Fellowship of Isis. And that was a 3-year initiatory journey and ceremonial journey. It was really my entryway into the ceremonial arts. And for 2 of those years, I deeply initiated in this process called the Magdalene Way. And through this 2-year initiation, it was the entire essence of it was reclaiming the divine feminine through the Magdalene and the Sophia energies, as well as reclaiming the divine masculine through the Christos and the Yeshua energies, and then merging those through Hieros Gamos, or this inner sacred marriage, also known as Unio Mystica. And so this has been something that has been a golden thread weaving through my life for 25 years. And, as we move into speaking more about the rose, the last thing I'd really like to share about this history is that there's a Cathar prophecy. And this Cathar prophecy was spoken by Belibaste, which I'm probably mispronouncing his name. And upon his persecution and death, he said, in 700 years, the laurel will grow green again on the ashes of the martyrs, which was basically that in 700 years, which brings us to now, there would be a renaissance, a return of this consciousness of the Cathars, of this harmonious, complementary, empowered beauty of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within each one of us through our united hearts and through the energy of love. And that we would then bring this back as a collective. And so I just wanted to speak to that prophecy, as we have, we often know more about maybe, Turtle Island or South American prophecies, but this is a more ancient one from the mystical Christian ways. And so just to presence all of that, and that brings us to the rose, and how, the rose is here, what it's communicated to me, and then I'm going to pass this over to you, Athena. And through our Way of Love community, we're moving through in our community of practice the Rose Path. And the Rose Path is a spiritual prayer technology that was hidden in plain sight. It is a prayer technology that is rooted in the wisdom stream of the Rose line, going back to Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, but carried forward from them through the Cathars and then to the cathedral builders. And it's a prayer technology of working with a 6-petaled rose to reclaim our unified, awakened hearts through the understanding of the significance of unifying through prayer all these different energies within us. And so I'll speak a little bit later to some of that technology, but I feel like I've been speaking for a while and I could just keep going. But I want to pass this over to you, Athena, and kind of, whatever's in your heart, but also to ask you, it's like in your deep dives with Rose and also with a Christ consciousness, what do you feel is some of the most important wisdom that you've received for living now? From, it's like they're, to me, they're kind of a unified state, the Rose and the Christ energy, but just to leave that to you, and we'll kind of pass the feather to you, see where we go.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I actually started to feel a little bit teary-eyed feeling hearing about the prophecy of the Cathars, and um that, yeah, we do talk about a lot of different prophecies, and yet to have these mystics that were so devoted to the path of love to receive that prophecy, and how fascinating that we're in this time right now where we can feel Christ consciousness coming in. And sadly, in the world that we're in, there's that distortion that is very patriarchal and rooted in dogma and religion, and really not the true teachings of Yeshua and Mary. And, just to presence that the reason why we're talking about all of this at all is because um you know this this is what is being asked of us, I feel, as a consciousness in the world that we find ourselves in, is to rise up into this into a newer frequency of, maybe not newer, but the truer frequency of what is unconditional love look like. And for myself, I spent, I'll share a little story. Stories can sometimes land a little better. But I started dieting rose. My path is through the plant dietas. I trained in the Amazon jungle for a lot of years. I worked with amazing grandmother healers, and so I learned the technology of plant dieta. And plant dieta is, you're really inviting these you're attuning to the subtleties, and these plants are portals into the divine knowledge that the universe holds for us. And I was very surprised that as I started dieting the rose, I started to have come back to all the Jesus teachings that I had left behind when I left the church. And at that time, I was in the middle of a separation with my ex-husband, who's still one of my best friends. And I found myself, the rose was showing me all the ways that I wasn't loving, all the ways that I was judging, all the ways that, well, if he just did this, then it would be okay. Maybe some of you can relate. And just like, what does unconditional love look like? And that's the question that dropped in. And as I often will share with students that are in dieta, is it's like to watch the questions that come in. There's the Saint Maharishi who awoke to his divine nature as the question dropped in: Who am I? Who am I? And so the questions that you find yourself asking actually really orient the type of life that you live. They're very important. And so the question that dropped in for me was, what does unconditional love actually look like? And it's a radical path, I gotta say. And it's not what you think it is, because love can have so many different faces. It can be fierce. It can be incredibly boundaried. It can be really soft. And so I'm so grateful that the rose began to bring me back to the scriptures and to the gospels, and the Gnostic gospels and the mystic teachings that Robin was just sharing about. And I just was reading today how the word gospel actually goes back to the word good news. And there is good news. Sadly, the church has really turned it into something quite distorted. But the good news, really, when it comes to the path, the Christed path that is emerging in all of us right now in these times, I'm sure many of you can feel that pull on some level. You feel that pull. That's why you're here today. Something has called you, and maybe you don't even know the words to describe it. But the Christ as a consciousness, what I have come to understand is that the soul cohort that brought this Jesus and Mary, they were a team, right? They were a stellar team, and then there were all the souls and masters that worked to support what occurred when there was that crucifixion, resurrection, ascension, and the great teaching that also was left behind, that you will do greater things than I, and that the kingdom of heaven is here within us, not outside of us. And so Robin said that so beautifully, how we can, we're often in the world that we find ourselves in. It's very external. We're very focused. That's the masculine, right? And we love the masculine. Awesome. And the sacred marriage of holding both, of the divine feminine. This is one of the teachings of Mary Magdalene in in the Gospel of Mary that maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. But I kind of lost track of where we were going, Rob, with the question of Christ consciousness. What is the most important thing that for you all right now is to the teachings of Christ. Let's just drop into it, because here's the thing: the words are going to fall short. The words are going to fall short. And so I really want to invite us all in this moment, because we're here and it feels like there's so much medicine in this field, is to really tune in and ask that question: what is Christ consciousness? What is Christ consciousness? What is unconditional love? What does that feel like in my body and in my heart? And can I step towards it right now in this present moment right now? Can I open my heart a little wider and come into that field of coherence, into the spaciousness that is available here right now, and step into this energy, into this light, into this love that is my birthright? That is my birthright. Just try that on for a moment. Just try that on and see what emerges as we're welcoming in the rose codes, the rose codes, the Magdalene, the divine feminine hidden in this beautiful flower that is inviting us back to our Christ nature, because we all have a Christ nature, the awakened nature within us, the awakened nature within us. And that's really what this is about, because this is the time, you know how beautiful that we can talk about this right now and share about this. And we all know, you all know, that it's time to share your gifts with the world. It's time to, put the old stories down and step into a new way, because it's crazy right now. I mean, is it just me? Thinks that? It's quite wild. So maybe I'll just leave that there. I feel like I'm feeling the rose in my heart, and I'm really enjoying the group energy here and what we're all sharing together, and how beautiful that we are in these times of great prophecy. What good fortune it is that not only are we here at this time, but there is a desire within us to know the truth and to be the truth. And as the teachings of Christ, show us that this is the time to really embody and find and see what truth actually is, and times of great discernment. And I feel like Robin has some wonderful things to share here. So I'll just pass it back to you. Thanks for letting me share. Mhm.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your story too. And yeah, the interesting thing for me around, I mean, one, I could, yeah, the teachings of Christ, which honestly I came through in a most resistant, I went through the back door of the temple. Let me say that. If I, was not interested. Let me put it that way. Mostly because on my father's line, just incredible harm, which I know so many of our families and so many different people in our community have experienced. The incredible dissonance and harm of um, not just churches, but spiritual communities where the words and the heart are not linked up, where the prayers are empty, where harm happens because of hierarchies of specialness. And for me, I was not interested in any of the teachings on this level because of the incredible harm and trauma that my dad really experienced, being forced to be raised Irish Catholic. He had to go to mass 6 days a week. and was, beaten and abused by the nuns and priests in all the ways that we've heard about. And he was not well until he passed. And so for me, there's been a very deep and strong process of reconciliation, and one that I wasn't really interested in. But actually, funnily enough, in my first ayahuasca ceremony, there's a lot to share about that. It was a 12-hour journey. The first 6 hours I was dry heaving, and I was experiencing every state of consciousness from the amoeba all the way to me. It took 6 hours. It was excruciating. And then I broke through. It's a longer story. And then the next 6 hours I was traveling the world, visiting spirits, and Yeshua came in. And I was like, "Really? You're coming to visit me now?" I'm like, "Come on. What about all this stuff?" And like, "It's not me." And I know it's not you. I'm still not interested, but I'm really interested in the divine feminine. I'm really interested in the goddess. I'm really interested in what was hidden and forced to go underground. That just has always really interested me. And one of the ways that I was brought to, the Magdalene energies, but I really do want to bring in Rose as well. But to speak first about the Magdalene is that, the name or the title, and many of you may already know this, of Christ actually means one who is anointed, right? And so we have this Christos, or this anointed one, and even embedded in that name is a recognition that one has been anointed, and who did the anointing, right? Who initiated. And this is what's really left out of the story, because of course, in all the art and the iconography and all the different symbols, is Mary Magdalene holding that alabaster jar, which was connected to many of the sacred plant medicines that were very psychotropic. And there's all sorts of groovy research now showing that the, early Christians were really working with some very powerful sacraments and psychoactive beverages. So we're just right in alignment with that, which I love. And that alabaster jar and Mary Magdalene and her love, the purity of her prayers, her tears, and her presence blessed, raised, elevated, and anointed this man of Yeshua. And so within this sacred marriage of the Christos is always the Magdalene. And yet, this separation, this misalignment has created an underpinning of dissonance that many of us are drawn to deeper healing because we are healing from the rupture, the dissonance, the fracture, the incredible harm and intergenerational trauma of this dissonance that has manifested in the victim perpetrator bonding cycle through 2,000 years. And so just to presence, if sometimes it feels like a lot to be called to the medicine ways and the healing, is because it is actually a lot. We are the ones that are resourced enough as souls, star seeds, and these beautiful, highly sensitive souls coming to heal our bloodlines, but heal so much more. And there's great medicine in reclaiming both the Magdalene medicine ways and the Christed nature. And so within the Magdalene, then we are connected to who trained Magdalene. And this is where Mama Rose comes in for me. So Rose is an ancient power symbol and the overlighting deva, the master teacher of an order of divine feminine leadership that reaches back over 4,000 years, but probably much, much farther. And the Rose that, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary were trained in the Isis ways, in the temples of Isis. And those that were established for, good 2,000 years. But those wisdom traditions came from Mesopotamia and the wisdom traditions of Inanna. And then from there, that Mesopotamian goddess ways also filtered into the Vedic cultures, into Lakshmi. And then we had all these different branches, and the rose was always connected to the divine feminine, to the Holy Mother, and to love in all of its forms, from eros to charis, and all the different forms of love in between, from the romantic, the erotic, to the deepest love of family, philia, to the charity of taking care of everyone and leaving nobody behind. And so the rose has been this overlighting deva that reaches through the rose lines or the Christed Yeshua pathways of the Holy Family, but also, that were the ancestors of the Holy Family as well. And so maybe we could transition in the rest of our call to, the spirit now of Rose, of this Rose Dieta that you're going to be opening soon, of what this the language we use is the overlighting deva. So this is how we articulate the morphogenic field, like the big field of intelligence of the master teacher plants, which of course is every plant. But, we're working with this morphogenic divine field that Athena mentioned. And I'm really curious in the depth of dieta work that you've embarked upon personally, Athena, and then in your community, what are some of the overarching memes or themes or teachings that you've received or witnessed, maybe in the light, the dark, the shadow, the beauty of these rose dietas?
Mm. Feel like it'd be so great to even jam a little bit about what we were talking about the 5 petal and the 6 petal rose, as that actually feels super important for these times if you're down for it. What do you say? Yeah, okay, cool.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, what have I learned with I'll go with that. So, it's really interesting. Robin and I were chatting about how, there was both of us received some downloads. And that's just what happens, right? All of us receive, oh, that's different information than I had before. And it's following that guidance and listening and following the intuition. And so what's really interesting is that in the path of Rose, I was noticing, I was speaking about the teachings of unconditional love. Rose has the highest frequency of smell. It's a very high frequency plant. It is full of medicine and symbolism. And the beauty of a symbol is it transcends the mental body, right? It's like we can receive that symbol into our dream time, into our psyche in a different way than a concept, if you will, or a construct of reality. And so this is where, the mystery teachings of the rose and the practice of dieta, it's like really attuning and learning and using it as a doorway. And so we were working with the 5 petal rose. And what's really is so interesting is that the 5 petal rose links to the goddess cultures that Robin was just speaking of, and the stories that go back all the way to the ancient Sumerian texts of Inanna. And so Inanna was, is a one of the most ancient goddesses that you will find. She's got the owls at her feet, and she's a badass goddess. She's like pretty epic. And so there's a story that I'll share actually, which is the story of Inanna that feels important for the times that we're in. And one of the oldest stories of Inanna is that, so she's the queen of heaven. She is like the divine mother expressed, okay? And then she goes through this journey of descent. And she goes down the 7 different levels down into the underworld. And as she goes down each level, some of her attire, the gifts that she carries, her scepter, her cloak, her crown, is taken from her. Okay, so it's the hero heroine's journey, the story of everything being taken away. And then who are you without all the money in your bank account, without what your face looks like? Who are you without, this identity that you think you are? This is the underlying teaching of Inanna. And so there she is at the bottom of, that she's in the pit. Anybody ever been there before? Most people on this journey have been there in some way. You've been there and you've been, where do I? There's nowhere to go. And in that moment where you feel like you've lost everything, there is this spark of light emerges that is untouched, and is always there, pure, shining, brilliant, as bright as a star. And so there Nana is, and she has to reckon with who is she without all of these things. And then from that place, she rises back up and she begins her ascension journey back up to her rightful place, because all of us have our rightful place. We all have our secret birthright. And so as she goes up the different levels, she's given back the gift, the tools, her sacred tools, her scepter, her cloak, her crown. She's given back these sacred tools to be the queen, to take the seat and to rule in a sacred manner with that much more responsibility, with that much more an embodiment and an understanding of what is real. And so the story of Inanna is very linked to the story of the rose. And you will find, through the traditions of the many faces of the goddess will change, from Inanna to Isis to Mother Mary to Mother Mary, Tonantzin, the goddess of Mexico, hidden in the Virgin of Guadalupe. And you see, the divine feminine hidden here, or, she'll find her way. She'll find her way. And sometimes she just comes like a flower. She's like, oh, I can't really be worshipped right now or honored right now. So I'm just a little flower here, or a big flower, a divine flower, a very powerful one. And so in that, going back, there's connection to Venus. And so Robin and I were just chatting. I was like, so interesting. Like, I was really feeling this weird vibe with Venus lately. Like, I don't know. And with the 5-petal rose and the goddess lineage, and there are many different goddess traditions and lineages. And if you go down that road, which I have many times, especially working with the rose, Venus is said to be the ruler of all 5-petal flowers, and Venus is also connected the um, to Lucifer, the light bringer. And so there is this really interesting thing that we both were kind of just jamming on, of really feeling like, oh, I think there's been what's the word? Like, it's been co-opted. And the importance of listening and tuning, and not just following, oh, well, it says it's this way, this is good, da 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 da, but actually tuning into, our hearts, which is the true teaching of the rose, that intuitive wisdom where we're sovereign. And it's not what, a 3,000-year-old lineage says. It's like, what does my heart say in this? And so in that way, then Robin started telling me, well, that's why we work with the 6-petaled rose. And I was like, are you for real? So I wonder, actually, Robin, if I could pass that to you and you could share a little bit about the 6-petaled rose, as it feels really important to talk about, this kind of co-opting of the divine feminine, and forces that have, misused it and misaligned it, and taken it in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that was beautiful. Whew. I'm like in 5 different directions at once. Okay. So,
Well,
yeah, the Rosa family, so like on a botanical level, rose and then the whole rose family, which includes many different fruit, including apple, pear. If you cut them in half, you see a 5-petaled star. If you've seen that 5-pointed star. And then also that five-pointed star is the trajectory of Venus through the sky. And so this, incredible symmetry, this mirroring of heaven on earth is beautiful. And we do work with the five-petaled rose. However, what's really significant in what Athena is speaking about is what happened when the empire, which is an empire spirit and empire consciousness, which is represented by in Gnostic teachings by the demiurge or the archons. So we're getting into some deep waters. Are you guys okay with that? Can we go into a little bit of deep waters? Okay. So we're going there. So in some of the ancient texts of the Gnostics that were hidden scrolls that were burned by the early church, they were hidden away because the libraries of the ancient world were, wherever they were found, they were burned, right? So there was this incredible desecration and elimination and erasure of ancient history and wisdom. But these few scrolls that were found in the Nag Hammadi cache in Egypt, as they were translated, spoke to the importance that the early Christians that didn't have that name, but there was many different sects, and one of them was the Essenes, and then there was the Gnostics, and there was many different tribes. But they spoke about the demiurge and the archons. Now, this goes back another 1,000 years to this intensely dark masculine priest class. This is far out stuff that began to take the inherent power base of the ceremonial ways of the goddess traditions and, not just co-opt, but turn in a form of mimicry and what's known as counter mimicry. So you're taking an image of something, you're taking a copy and you're inverting it. And through that inversion, you take the power, but you invert it to your own purposes. And so these early Gnostics were speaking to this tendency of this, like what we could call groupings of pathological narcissists, right? That would be what we would call it now, is groupings of ceremonial cults of pathological narcissists that were utilizing this ceremonial power in a way that distorted and reversed the energies, known as counter mimicry. And so this has happened over and over and over again. And if you look around the world, you see countless examples of how something that's beautiful and true is almost like a carbon copy has been made and then shifted to serve a different purpose. This happened with Yeshua in the Catholic Church. This has happened time and time again. So within the five-petaled rose and the energies of Inanna and Isis and Mary and this powerful priestess class of initiators related to Venus and to the five-petaled rose, there was a co-opting and then a counter-mimicry that then became what, was called, instead of, the different ancient names of the goddess, became, related to Lucifer. Now, what's Luciferic? Well, it's the inverted pentagram, right? It's the inverted five-pointed star. Is it the actual Venetian energy? No. It's that's reversed. And so that's also a really important part of this. Now, the only way that we can be tricked by counter mimicry is if we're not listening to our hearts as you're sharing, if we're allowing our minds to get hijacked. And so the ancient ones of the Essenes and the Gnostics understood what you were kind of pointing to before, which is our mental bodies and our beliefs and those programs, and to be very aware of that aspect. So then the five-petaled rose is in its essence the energy of the divine feminine, but the divine feminine has been abused, hijacked, and misused in its power base by not just men, but women as well. And this has happened in the rose because I believe, but this is me drawing back to a lot of research from a few years ago, that, they say that like where the the blood of Christ is like represented in the red rose, and there's these different pieces, right? So there's a lot of depth of mystery school teachings here. So the 5-petaled rose is still honored and is the organic template of the divine feminine. And then the 6-petaled rose was a symbol that is utilized as like a calling sign for the mysteries. So where you see a 6-petaled rose, it's a hallmark to that the mysteries, what was persecuted and burned and then had to hide underground, is a calling sign of like, hey, the mysteries are alive here. And the 6-petaled flower is actually the flower of life. It's like the seed of life, so you get that like the flower of life symbol that's really come back in the last 30 years. At its core is a 6-petaled rose, as a 6-petaled flower. And the rose path of the mystical Christians is working with the 6-petaled rose, which is a prayer technology that was directly passed down by Yeshua on the Sermon of the Mount through the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. So we're getting into some very deep roots here. So the 6-petaled rose is actually each of the different energies that were taught by the Essenes, and what I've received from direct gnosis in plant spirit medicine ceremony. So this is totally directly from my own heart and guidance from these energies, is that, and also research, but it came together in ceremony, is that, as Yeshua shared this ancient prayer, he wasn't sharing a prayer that he just created, which is often translated as the Lord's Prayer that many of us know, although I prefer the Aramaic version, and I love researching Aramaic. But that he received this prayer, which was a legacy through an oral tradition that went back thousands of years. And the prayer technology in its like most simple form is aligning to primary energies of divinity to navigate being human and to actualize our lives into anthropos, or to being a fully realized human, which is represented by the rose. And so this is, kind of like all the circles back. And this is really the prayer technology that we are guiding our community through, that I practice every morning. That's really become a lifeline in my journey. And it's working with each petal as a temple. And each petal of these 6 petals is working with a specific energy that without which we are not fully human. And so those 6 petals are the energy of alignment to faith, to through faith, the surrender, the consecration of our free will into divine will. And as we consecrate our free will into divine will, then we can fulfill our service here. And it said that we each made a promise to the divine before we were born to fulfill a specific mission of love. And so then we align back to that soul remembrance, even if we have no idea what we're doing day to day, which honestly is a mystery to me every day. I do this prayer every day and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to do what's here. And that's what this rose call. And after service, there's the energy of abundance. And from abundance, forgiveness. And then through forgiveness, a very final petal is, how I translate it, is wisdom, but was traditionally understood as overcoming obstacles or seeing the shadow tendencies within through navigating the 8 great fears or the 7 deadly sins, and just not going there, but learning as we make error, we make mistakes. And then at the center of the rose is love. because love is the source and the center of all. And so, yeah, I went in a lot of places there. I'm going to pass it over to you and then recognize we probably like maybe about 5 more minutes. We can wrap this baby up as far as our teachings and then open it up for any questions or reflections from the larger circle.
So great. Thank you so much. And thanks for going a little bit into the Venus conspiracy. I feel it's actually really important because when we understand what's happening in our world, we can be more free and we can stand in our power more, and we can understand that there are certain energies that are working to manipulate and pull us into separation and distortion, and not out of a fear-based way, right? Not out of, oh my God, but to actually come from that place of great love. And when we are embodied, we are much less able to be manipulated. When we know who we are, when somebody lies to us, we know it. We can feel it. We have a really good bullshit detector. And we want to have really good bullshit detectors in the times that we find ourselves in. And so the rose, coming back to the medicine and the beauty of the rose feels like such a balm for the times that we find ourselves in. In herbalism, rose is the number one remedy for heart issues, for grief, for pain in the heart. During the lockdowns that happened years ago, herbal dispensaries were actually running out of roses because people just started ordering roses like crazy. They knew that their hearts needed that tending, that fortification. There's the physical qualities of the rose. We've been going into the more mystical teachings of it. And I just feel to kind of just to go back to the good news, right? Because it's like, okay, there's so much chaos and intensity in the world. And yet the beauty of this, of what we're talking about is that there actually is a really beautiful way for each of us to walk the path that we came here to walk, to embody the light that we came here to embody, not just as a concept, but a really lived energy. And that's the teachings of the Anthropos. That is found in the hidden gospel of Mary Magdalene. That was, what even after they found it still was like hundreds of years, um, that it was not put out into the public. And one of just as is the feast day of Mary Magdalene, to just come back to her, is, years ago, I was going through a really intense, like, slandering, and people were saying all these things about me. Maybe some of you have been on the other side of feeling really misunderstood, or on the other side of an experience that you really didn't deserve, or whatever that means, but it's like, and I felt Mary Magdalene come with that teaching. And what's so beautiful with the gospel of Mary, and this is where she really whispered into my ear, is that the truth always will emerge. The truth always comes. Well, if it takes a few thousand years, it's the way that the earth's design is. And so the truth always will emerge. And yet it's up to us to be able to open to the truth and be honest with ourselves in where we might even be lying to ourselves. Because how can we receive the truths of the masters, of the Magdalines, of the goddess cultures, of the Christed line? How can we receive the truth if we aren't radically honest, right? And the truth will dispel the lies that we've been told or that we believe about ourselves. And so I want to just invite in, just to come into the frequency of the rose, into the medicine of the rose, for each of us to remember that we are these divine beings. This is who we are. And there are things that are kicked on top of us. There's traumas that we go through, there's intensities, there's beliefs and programs and lies that can lodge in. But when we step into that spirit of truth, when we step into that, there it is a liberation that these mystery schools are inviting us into. And because the truth is if one of you awakens to your true nature, like really awakens fully into it, it blesses the whole cosmos. It blesses the whole field. And so it's like continuing to step into that, um the awakened true nature that the rose teaches us, that we can be actually in our full divinity and our humanness. As Robin was saying, this was anthropos means to be human and divine. And let's just feel that. What does it feel like there's this beautiful scene. I'll just complete here. This is beautiful scene that passed. I met this woman on an airplane randomly. The universe has that great sense of humor, and she had her babies, and she was on her way to meet her grandma, who was this actually very famous, revered saint. And this scene was sharing this teaching about how, I have no problem being annoyed. I have no problem being annoyed or irritated or getting angry sometimes, because I know that I am one with God and God is one with me, and that there is nothing that can separate me from that. And so, I think sometimes we think that to be awake, to be, in these mystical states, that we don't ever get annoyed or frustrated or whatever. But the teachings of the Anthropos, the teachings of Mary Magdalene, is that we get to hold both. Where we get to get it like, I can't believe that happened. And oh my gosh, here is my divine God nature beyond judgment in the full truth of divinity, shining like a star. Can we hold both? It's not one or the other. And there's no it's actually, we have to get comfortable in the paradox of it. Feels nice though, right? I feel it right now as I'm saying, like, oh yeah, feels so good. Okay. I will pass it to you, Robin. Loving this conversation, loving the Magdalene energies with us, holding us.
Yeah, me too. That was beautiful. And yeah, just to close, um, I've been thinking today about this really beautiful woman in our community. Her name's Kathy, and she's a Mesa carrier in our lineage, and she's one of both our students and friends. And she has just does amazing work with girls. And she was super inspired after her Mesa training to do these girls groups and to introduce girls to ceremony and to ritual and to plant medicine, but through just plant spirits. And so she was guiding this circle of girls, including our daughter, who thinks we are like not cool and she's really not interested. We keep telling her we are actually cool. She does not believe us. So I don't know if that actually happens to other people too, but that's the reality in our household. But Kathy was guiding this girls group, and for 5 weeks they worked with Rose, and they did shamanic journeys to Rose. They did all this sort of work with Rose, and what I found amazing and why I wanted to close with this story is that it's this remembrance, this awakening, this wisdom, this really profound knowing is not complicated to receive, right? It's like all of our birthright. And the plants are here as our elders, and we're their children, and they love us. And these girls, like 9 and 10, were doing shamanic journeys to the spirit of Rose and received like some megaton teachings. Like, one of them was sharing, like, yeah, the spirit of the rose, she appeared like this. And she reminded me that she has thorns. And she told me that it was important to make sure that I honor my boundaries. This is like a 9, 10-year-old girl. And then there was others around the soft petals and how important it is to honor that rose opens in its own time, not when it's forced. Like essential wisdom, right? This is like mystical wisdom handed down through the ages that these girls, given the technology, given the support, given the container, received directly. And so I wanted to end with that, the relationship to the divine, the relationship to the sacred, is all of our birthright. And I know you all know this or you wouldn't be here. And it's that for everybody too. And as like the little ones have this innate knowledge and we can listen to them and create opportunities. Also, then in that, we can just remember that it's always there. And the rose and all these plant medicines are literally just waiting for us to return and say, hello, thank you. I love you. Give them a hug and open. And for me, ah, every time I'm reminded of what is true and beautiful and good. And that good news. And, so as we exit this time, or we'll move into some questions and answers, the may the medicine of Rose and this overlighting Deva really be here for all of us. And she is, and she's really communicated that she is the overlighting plant Deva for all of us now, like a planetary plant consciousness here to support all of us as we're going through this healing and awakening journey to really foster and support this on a planetary level. Because we're all here knowing that what we do for ourselves is not just for ourselves, it's connected to, the generations behind us, the generations before us, and to all of our beautiful human family and the great web of life. And to, lean in and to welcome this plant medicine and then the spirit, whether we ingest them or not, of all these sacred plants as emissaries of the divine, as emissaries, as Athena was sharing, of this universal intelligence. And may we remember that together and learn and pass along cool, insights and practical wisdom that we learn. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here and for staying so present. It's really been an honor to share this space with you. I want to open up now for any questions, reflections, and just give my deepest love and appreciation to you, Athena, for jamming with me. This was awesome. We really have never done this and we had no idea how it went. And I could just keep doing this for a long time because I'm really receiving so much every time you speak. So thank you for being willing.
Thank you so much, Robin. I so appreciate. Yeah, this is just so beautiful to drop in together. And thank you to this beautiful community and all the hearts here. Yeah, it feels like we were building a beautiful field together. We're like in the symmetry of the rose. Yeah. hmm Um. Yeah. I'll pass it. Yeah. Let's have the questions. Yeah, if there are any.
Yeah, questions, reflections. I'm just pulling the chat up now because for some reason I can't see it sometimes.
Any comments or questions? And I would love to share a song that but when we close. Yeah, for everyone to sing as we call in the spirit of the rose. Yeah. After. Maybe there's no questions. We
Yeah.
just
Oh, we got Emma Power. Okay. I was going to say there's nobody from the peanut gallery, but no, there is a peanut gallery member. Thank you, Emma, for
gallery
making
member.
nice.
I put in the chat, but maybe you didn't see it. I wrote, could you make a distinction of the qualities or the mystery of Magdalene and Mother Mary, because they're both connected to the rose, and it's kind of to me obvious that they're from the same lineage, but they're represented so differently. Like one feels like dark, and like for like the cat, the shadow and what is kind of repressed, and the other just seems like motherly. And I'm just curious in your experience, or if you have a take on that. I've always kind of been wondering myself.
Ooh, yeah. Well, both are sanctuaries. And if you call on either one of them in ceremony, they'll be right there. And like that Holy Mother, Mother Mary, that energy of just the unconditional love of the Divine Mother. Absolutely, like the archetype, the embodiment, the spirit. And Mary Magdalene has been more mysterious because it's a different aspect of divine feminine power, and one that was very threatening. And it's the one of the fully empowered um, divine feminine spiritual leader, healer, guide, mystic. And, within the stories of Mary Magdalene, which because there's been such a desecration of the history, there's not like it's putting together pieces. But one of the things I absolutely love is that there's all these different researchers, most of them women, who've gone very deep into both the histories and then their direct mystical experience with Mary Magdalene, and brought forward some amazing books. Like, I have a few different series of especially novels that are exploring her life. And what I love is that they're similar, but they're different. And what I think is important is that she is mysterious, that she's not going to be boxed, that she's powerful, and that she demands, in some ways, honor and respect. But she's always inviting us back into our sovereignty. And, I love in the Sophia Code that she's known as, she of 1,000 angels. Like, she has this incredible angelic tribe that she works with, and the Order of Magdalene. And so I work with Mary Magdalene when I need to be in my fierce feminine. I need to be in the full love, fully aligned to truth, and also is not the big embrace of Mother Mary. It's the I'm willing to walk with you all the way down like a Nana, all the way to the very depths of the underworld, and I'll walk with you all the way back. And on my watch, that harm is not going to happen. And so there's a fierce love, a fierce power, but also a wisdom and a discernment that allows us to hide in plain sight, to not be showy, but to be powerful and there when we are needed. And so there's so much more I could share. Working with the Magdalene Energies has been a 25-year journey, and she's still an absolute mystery to me. And I love that. And she will not be defined. And I love that too. And every story about her, well, that's sourced in love, is true, even though they're all different. And so I will add into the email following up like my favorite novels, because some teachings have to be allegorical, right? They need to be mythic. And so if the teachings are just like historical, we don't really land them. But the allegory is the calling card of the mystery schools. And the allegory is a teaching story where every character is an aspect of ourselves. So the allegory of Mary Magdalene is also all of our stories. So I'll send that out. I hope that just drop that in. There's my 2 cents. Thank you for asking, Emma. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Athena?
I'll say very briefly that the darkness, how you were saying how she almost appears like there's a darkness to her, that really tracks to the inversion and the distortion of the feminine, and that Mary Magdalene was never a prostitute. That's been debunked. That the Pope came out and apologized for the slander of that, and that she is in fact apostle of the apostles. and she's a mystery. So that's just the kind of the scholarly, what the scholars say about it. But I love what Robin said. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like, nothing that would offend the patriarchal Judaic and Roman dudes as much as a sexy woman in her power that didn't want to give them any. Like, that's really a lot of it. Is like, she's full of herself, and she's full, and she's not.
And she had money.
And she had money. Yeah, she was a landholder. There's a lot. There's a lot. But yeah, that's a little drop in the bucket. And there's an amazing book too called The Sacred Prostitute that really tracks the Hyros Gamos arts and the tantric ways that were also part of the Rose line, but held in very deep secrecy, sub rosa, under the rose, in secrecy. So, there's all these layers. We could just keep following the golden threads or the red rose threads for hours, but we should probably.
You need a series.
Yeah, we need a series. That's right. Next one. Is there any other questions or reflections before we close tonight? Awesome. Well, would you like to guide this song?
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan, we got one.
Okay.
Athena, I just wanted to say thank you both, and to Athena for singing, because a long time. So thank you. It's great to hear your voice in song.
Nice to see you, friend. Bless you. Okay, so I'm going to sing again. So as we sing again, calling in that inner healer within you. This is a very simple song. It's in English. And a apprentice of mine in a Rose diet received the song, and we just sang it in ceremony last weekend. And so we're going to sing it now. So, excuse me. Here we go. Rose petals unfold in me. Rose petals unfold in me. Oh, I forgot you have to sing along, by the way. Here we go. I honor my beauty. I honor my beauty. Rose petals unfold in you. Rose petals unfold in you. I honor your beauty. I honor your beauty. Rose petals unfold in me. Rose petals unfold in me. I honor my beauty. I honor my beauty. Rose petals unfold in you. Rose petals unfold in you. I honor your beauty. I honor your beauty. Rose petals unfold in me. Rose petals unfold in me. I honor my beauty. I honor my beauty. Rose petals unfold in you. Rose petals unfold in you. I honor your beauty. I honor your beauty. One last time. Rose petals unfold in me. Rose petals unfold in me. I honor my beauty. I honor my beauty. Rose petals unfold in you. Rose petals unfold in you. I honor your beauty. I honor your beauty. I walk a path of beauty.
Wow, what a beautiful way to close. So thank you all so much. And maybe to close, as you're as you're signing out, you can unmute and just say bye. Just add your little your voice, and if you feel called, and we will be sending this out. And please send any emails, feedback, direct messages, anything that stirs in you. We love to hear from you. I know both Athena and I would. Guys. Guys, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Wonderful collab.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robin. You're like a professor.
Oh, you both are. Thank you, guys. You're welcome. So, yeah, lots of files in there. Lots of files. Good to see you, Jane. And sweet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, dear friends. Awesome.
Thank
You
you.
should-
Thank you.
This is fun.
Yeah, we had us like somebody said, series, please. I'm like, all
I
right.
like it. I like everyone saying bye. It's like hugging at the door, like, see you later. Love you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Well, thank you so much. Oh, hi, Damie.
See you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you in like a day. That's awesome. All
Yeah,
right.
in a day.
Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Talk to you soon, and we'll be in touch, Athena. Hasta luego.
Bye, love. Mwah. Thank you.